Our School Walking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we bring you news, sometimes we make you laugh. Most times, we go deep. I'm CosmoMom09, Rachel B, and with me is Blazy Gardner, and we're bringing you another interview with Jared himself, Josh Mikel. Woo! Yay! How you doing today?
Taking it easy, Harry. Oh, thank you for having me.
Did you have a nice holiday?
Easy, yeah. I ate 2 plates. I didn't get any fights. It was a win.
Whoa, wait! You didn't get any Thanksgiving fights?
No Thanksgiving fights. It was easy peasy. How about y'all?
Yeah, it was a great holiday. No fights over here either.
No fights.
No.
2 hands on a turkey and tore it apart. It was a good day.
Yeah.
I went to my brother's, got a plate of food, ate, and left. Perfect. Bye.
Oh, easy.
Wow.
That's how you do it.
That's new.
So what have you missed the most about being on The Walking Dead?
The consistent work was great. And also being on a show that so many people love and watch religiously. That was really cool, especially to have that thing carry on over a summer, because I did season 7, a couple episodes, and then knew I didn't die, and we kind of had an idea that we would be back. So spent the whole summer just feeling pretty solid in between when they started filming again. The folks that work on the show are so cool. I made a lot of amazing friends, a lot of which I'm still close with, and I always say, if you can last longer than 2 seasons crewing for Walking Dead, you're a saint, because it's really vigorous down there. There's a lot, but it was just such a fun universe to be a part of, and I was super fortunate to do it.
I've heard that it can be quite challenging. I mean, between the heat, the physical activity that's expected.
At the time we were shooting, Game of Thrones was really big. There was a lot of folks that were doing these kind of unfair comparisons of Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, where Game of Thrones, they'll take months to shoot an episode. Walking Dead takes 8 days per episode, and then I think it was like 10 or 11 for the mid-season finale and finale. The amount of content that they're creating, and then to make action a part of that and make it exciting in such a short amount of time. I mean, it's a grind. Yeah, those crews are bonkers.
And on a far more limited budget than Game of Thrones, apparently.
Yeah.
Right, definitely.
Especially as the seasons grew.
Totally.
Is there a specific moment, a memory that you'll always carry with you from set?
I mean, there's a lot. My first day was awesome. Even in the audition up to getting on the show, every audition I submitted, they kept kind of growing in kind of how important the characters seemed to be or whatever. And so when I got Jared, I mentioned it before, I think it was my 16th or 17th audition for the show, and I started auditioning in season 3. That was really cool to finally get it and finally land it. And then to get on the show, and our first day, a lot of the kingdom was all being established together. Not only was I having my first day, but there was 7 or 8 other actors. Kari Payton, who plays Ezekiel, Cooper Andrews, who plays Jerry, Carrie Cahill, who plays Diane, Ben, all the kingdom folks, Richard, Jason Warner-Smith, who played Gavin. We were all getting established the same day, and the only person that was a regular in our scenes, those early scenes, was Lenny James. And that was really cool, too, because he's such a rad dude and so easy on set. The anxieties, I think, that a lot of folks probably feel going into a show like Walking Dead and having some of their scenes with the regulars, we had a different vibe. It was a lot more freedom, and it was just really lovely days on set. I shot my death episode, and I thought that was my last day. And that was amazing, too, to get a death as cool as mine on a show like Walking Dead. Because some people die off screen, and some people died in an instant and don't have a cool, as cool of a, drawn out death. By the time I died, people wanted to see me die, so they relished that. So, it was really cool. That was an amazing thing. And then we were doing EPK stuff, and it was 2 days of shooting that episode for me, my stuff in that episode. Mine and Andy was there. It was my first scene with Andy, and then to have it happen at Morgan's hands, who I had antagonized the whole time, it was just rad. And then I cried my eyes out to the behind the scenes folks and got the heck out of there, thinking I was leaving the show forever. And then they called me back a couple weeks later and were like, "Hey, do you want to come back? They're asking for your availability for the final episode of the season." And I was like, "Yeah, hell yeah, I'm free as I've ever been." Got to haunt Lenny again and kind of have a scene with Norman and Alana and a bunch of folks that I hadn't really interacted. I didn't interact with them because I was a ghost haunting Morgan at the time, but I was on set the same day as everybody. A lot of these characters that I hadn't really been in a scene with, which was really cool.
Yeah, so you got to see him and hang out.
Yeah.
Morgan was the one that took Jared out. If it hadn't have been Morgan, who would you have wanted to take Jared out?
I'd always said I either wanted it to be Shiva, and that, of course, couldn't happen.
Yeah.
But I always thought it would be rad to be cut in half. And I think a savior or somebody got cut in half by Jerry's axe.
Jerry, yeah.
But I kind of wanted that sort of, the straight down the center, body peels open, Jerry behind me kind of thing.
Guts sliding out from the halves. That was Gunther, I think, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Just flexing right now.
Nice work.
I remember Gunther. Yeah.
Thank you.
But I think it just made so much sense that it was at Morgan's hands. I don't think it really should have been anybody else.
Yeah.
Circle completed, yeah.
Circle completed.
Since we did, unfortunately, lose Jared, like I told you before, he's a character that we all loved to hate. So if he had stuck around, do you think he eventually would have changed his ways and joined the good guys?
Because I had Scott Gimple's email pretty early on. It was one of the first roles where I was able to ask the showrunner questions about the character, because the character mattered enough that I had that avenue of communication. And so I did. I asked him at one point, like, hey, should I leave any kind of ambiguity as to this guy maybe could turn and be a decent person? That never happened. He was like, he's a horrible person through and through, and just play him that way. And so that's how it went. But I really hoped for some redemption arc, and that just never happened. I would have killed for one, because it's especially in season 8, as every episode would come out and I'd see that I didn't die. And as you're getting closer to the finale, it's like, oh God, I may make it to season 9. Like, oh, and then 8/14 or whatever that's when he bit the dust.
You mentioned that, of course, a lot of people were happy to see him go. What are some of the craziest names you've heard Jared called?
I started doing this thing, Shitty Jared, on Twitter, and I was doing some. I taped some videos from when I was kind of in my honey wagon or my whatever double banger, triple banger. That's like your trailer. The honey wagon is the small one, which is what I got in my first couple episodes, and then I think maybe the last episode they moved me to a slightly larger trailer, just because they knew they were going to kill me off and whatever. Like it was. Yeah, I definitely heard Shitty Jared a lot because I kind of started that, but then I would get rat face prick because that's what I called, or that's what Benjamin called me at one point. And one woman in particular at a Walker Stalker in Atlanta wouldn't approach my table, and so I went out of my way to chase her down and be like, hey, listen, I'm a decent dude, like character, but I appreciate that you had such feelings about the character, but that thing stays on set.
You just did a good job at playing the character.
That's right.
Did chasing her make things better or worse?
It made things better. It made things better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
After I pushed her down and had my team, my guys get on her, a couple of times.
Right.
We got her.
Restrain
got
her, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Took a couple blows to the gut, and then we started to win her back over with some concessions. Didn't happen.
Here's an autograph. It's so cool
Exactly.
now.
Yeah, thanks
Get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Staying true to character.
Right. Commit. Right.
Exactly.
Jared was a bad guy. He was supposed to be bad. But obviously, you are a sweetheart. So was it difficult for you to get into that character? How do you prepare yourself to be someone so completely different from yourself?
A lot of folks have asked that, and I just started going to therapy recently, and I guess I'm trying to get to the bottom of that. I do have a lot of anger. I had very sweet grandparents and very sweet parents, and so it didn't take a ton to get into. I had older brothers, so it's like the way I thought about it was just being a shitty older brother, but like in the apocalypse, And I tried to always keep in mind that he's a bit of a sociopath. It's always what Jared wanted supersedes any other thing. His intentions, his desires are the top concern in Jared's world. There's no empathy or altruism. I think that was kind of the idea, at least.
So being Negan really worked for him. Taking other people's
Great cover.
stuff and that's what Jared wants, Jared gets, right?
Exactly. I think he fit right in. Well, I always played with the idea too that Negan was like Jared's second uncle or something, because this guy is causing so much trouble and really pulling no weight at all. It's just like what is this guy's utility? And I think there had to have been some sort of familial connection or something. That's what I went with.
So being a former savior, I got to know, how do you feel about Negan's redemption arc?
I think that's tough. I haven't caught up to. I'm on season 9, late in season 9, so I haven't had a chance to watch everything.
You will be surprised.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to watch and see how it's handled. But every time I see him buddy with anybody, I'm like, no, come on. That's a sin that is not, under rug swept. How do y'all feel about it?
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I mean, I will say the finale kind of punched me in the feels a little bit, but up until then, I was an avid Negan despiser.
I mean, I guess I binged it so fast I didn't really get the same animosity as you do towards Negan, but I'm enjoying his redemption arc. Everybody deserves a second chance. See, even Jared deserved a second chance.
I'm telling you.
Given the fact that we started podcasting in season 8, which is great why we have you on the show. This is why what we do is kind of great. We kind of push each other and kind of test each other's beliefs out. And so my co-host at the time, I was like, oh, Rick all the way. Yeah, like, let's just do it. And then she kind of opened my eyes on, like, how shitty Rick is and how, well, maybe Negan under a different light might be different. You could look at him in a different way. Yeah. So my opinion was I was pushed into a middle path to see the show as great as it's trying to be all the time. Yeah. So I can go either way, but I have mostly enjoyed watching Jeffrey Dean Morgan on screen. So it's just kind of like...
Exactly. The luxury of a Negan redemption arc is you get more of Jeffrey Dean Morgan's Negan. People have always loved seeing him, and I think that's awesome. And especially if Andy's gone, there's definitely some shoes to fill, and I think it's lovely that Negan's still around. Just wish he had some of his guys with him.
Right. Well, so he's got a spinoff coming. If Jared had survived until now, do you think he would want to go off with Negan in the spinoff, or do you think he would want to spin off with somebody else?
I always kind of talked about Jared's choice to be a savior as like a ship goes down, you cling to the closest door or life raft to you. And I think that was it. I think he would have stuck in that savior's universe. The Whisperers would have been cool. The potentiality of him having gone elsewhere, that's a fun thing to consider. But there's also a little bit of bittersweetness to it because it's like, well, that didn't. He's dead. I don't do a lot of living in that universe. It's like, wow, I wish we could have done this. It's like, well, no, they wrote it. He was a fulfilling death for the audiences, and I think people were excited to see him go, and it was time. He didn't deserve to live. He was such. I was really surprised. Honestly, like every time I'd open an episode and he wasn't dead, I'd be like, "Holy shit, this is bananas!" Like there's no reason why this guy should still be alive. He should be way dead. He should be way dead. The writing could only support keeping me around for so much longer. And when you have Morgan and Rick tied up, things aren't going to end well for somebody, and it's probably for the better that he's gone. They got enough writing to do for Negan and everything.
I'm a really big fan of like the what if scenarios, and we talk a lot about finding the right people first. I wonder what kind of person Jared would have been if he had met Rick Grimes first before Negan.
People have asked about his backstory a lot, and I always kind of said he was a trust fund kid, some holier than thou, like got away with everything. I had some friends growing up that were like really punk rock, but also their parents, like they could afford to be punk rock. It was like, oh, you're fighting against your upbringing. Like you have a nice washer and dryer at your house, and there's a woman who comes to your house and does that for you that is not a family member. But you're punk rock or whatever. Like Christ Almighty, wash your clothes once in a while. But I think that's kind of him. I think that's kind of who he was.
Probably wouldn't have fit in too well with the Rick Grimes crew then, huh? Probably would have butted a lot of heads.
Pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and, not taking undeserved privilege.
What do you mean I got to wash my own clothes?
Yeah, exactly. I think he fit in pretty well in America these days.
Do you have a favorite character on the show that you just love to watch?
Obviously, working with Lenny so much, I love seeing his stuff. When he went to Fear, I haven't caught much of that, but I really loved Daryl's stuff early on. The Governor was so rad. I love villains. I love anybody that has a dark streak. So that stuff is always so cool to me. But I think the Governor was pick a favorite. The people that I came up with that are still alive. Actually, everybody knows who dies. I'm kind of interested in who died in the finale. Can y'all tell me that?
Oh, you want to know? You want to be spoiled?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. It's kind of my job to know a little bit too, because I may have eventually crossed paths with these people and ask them how.
Should we tell you somebody that actually survives that you can't believe survived?
Sure.
That might be more shocking than who actually dies.
Are we all thinking the same thing? Because you dealt with him a lot on the show. King Ezekiel makes it all the way to the end.
He survives.
That's awesome. Yeah. How
does that make you feel? that jerk.
No, I think it's awesome. I love Kari. So if Kari shows up in one of the spinoffs, I'm amped. Does Jerry make it?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Jerry makes it.
We were pretty worried about, actually. So I mean, there's something to watch there.
But wasn't Alden one of your friends? Wasn't Alden a friend in the same?
Yeah, I knew he had died. He died earlier in the season, like episode 10 or something.
Yeah.
In the 11th season.
The middle of the 11th season.
Yeah, Callan. Yeah, great dude. Mm-hmm. He's fine. He'll find work. He's got plenty. He's gonna be a big old star. That's the exciting part about this phase of the show coming to an end is everybody's gonna branch out, and you're gonna get to see, like Denai, you got to see her, spread her wings and really move on to some good stuff when she was off the show for that while. And I think there's some really cool stuff ahead for Walking Dead fans who are going to follow these actors' careers. A lot of these folks have been, locked up for 12 years or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's wild to think of doing the same thing for 12 years. That's when people were talking about, gosh, I wish Andy would have stuck around. Like, you fucking kill zombies for 12 seasons or 10 seasons on TV and see how you feel about it. Like, especially when you're a good actor, you want something else. I think it's amazing that he's coming back and has whatever the stuff they have planned for him, but for him to spend time with his family and whatever, it blows my mind and I think the people you see kind of stay, like Mariska Hargitay, I can never pronounce her name.
Me too.
Yeah, Law and Order. The folks that stay in those types of gigs, it's not the Walking Dead universe. You're not crawling through. Swamps and shit all day.
We talk about the physicality of the show all the time about how you can't blame actors for leaving when it has to be an extraordinarily difficult show physically to work on.
Yeah, I spent like 14 days on set and I was covered in dirt every time, and I hadn't gotten old yet, but I could see that getting old pretty quick.
You were just a season and some change, so like for them it's a lot. We spent like an extraordinary amount of time, probably too much, talking about like Norman Reedus' stamina, how he's continuing on to do his own spinoff. Yeah. And we were, we love these actors. We were just kind of like, it's amazing that he, hasn't worried about just his physical stamina, but also in a way I admire, but also, I get concerned about his being typecast as, hey, you're the Daryl Dixon guy from here on in. But that actually kind of brings us to you. I mean, you talk about Denai and Andy and Norman and all them, but like, I mean, it's not as if like we haven't seen you. Like I personally have seen you in The Righteous Gemstones and Black Lightning, The Purge and Ozark too. And we do this. We tell people where you're at, what you've been doing, and any other actor that's either left the show or continue to be on the show. What the question I have here, and it's an actual question, obviously the landscape has changed during COVID in terms of picking up gigs and stuff like that. But what's the biggest thing that has changed in the, let's say, the acting audition / casting process for you specifically? What's the biggest dynamics that's changed, and has there been any positives as a result?
I think you're asking kind of exclusively about COVID, but
Sort of, yeah.
Also, yeah, but also, after doing the show, the weight that being on The Walking Dead in any sort of capacity gives to your resume. So many people are watching the show. So many creatives still watch the show, and that was an amazing boon for every audition I had after that. And it gave me a lot of confidence because it's like, well, yeah, I did something on a show that a lot of people watch and love, and was able to carry that through. And I feel mostly proud of the work. So now I feel confident in taking that to the next thing. After COVID, everything slowed down completely, and I didn't audition or work for, I don't know, I think it was close to 9 months or so, which it did a lot of things. I've always kind of prided myself on being a multifaceted artist. I never wanted to be primarily just an actor. But I realized during COVID how much I had become just an actor. I had kind of let these other passions of mine fall to the wayside because acting was paying the bills and taking a lot of my time. And you get an audition and you have to learn those lines. You have to track somebody down a tape, and you have to get that thing on tape and do it in a couple of days. And sometimes you get that a couple times a week. And it's a champagne problem to have. It's a lovely thing to be acting and getting auditions. But it's also hard to maintain any sort of schedule. So if you have other interests, it's tricky sometimes. And you really have to find those windows, those 15 minutes between something to do that thing that you also care about. So during COVID, I just realized how much my identity had become about acting. And I say it pretty often that there's nothing in the world less interesting than someone who is only an actor. Actors are exhausting. They're exhausting.
Do you think sometimes actors fall out of touch as a result of only doing acting? I mean, it's out of touch with people in some senses because all they're working on is the craft, or all they're working on is being some other person. So they don't have that fullness of character, let's say, as a human being.
Absolutely. And when you're not looking for growth within the craft, say you get on something and you can throw it on cruise control because you're a regular and on a show where you're not dying or whatever. I don't know. When you're not being challenged. And I think that's the thing that I would be frustrated about. Say that where I can understand Andy would, I'm not saying he ever did this or any, but folks that would stick around for a while, that they want to be challenged in a different way. I think one of the lovely things about being an actor is you get to explore all these different parts of who you are. And if you're honest with yourself, you can take that straight to therapy, man. And that's a wonderful thing. But it can be tricky, I guess.
Now, name names. No, just kidding.
You see it a lot in actors of my tier, that are so hungry. Everything they post anywhere in social media is about acting and auditioning, reading lines and whatever. But I don't care. People don't care. I said one time, posting about your auditions is like posting that you bought a lottery ticket or something, that you're bragging about an opportunity. There's a lot of toxicity, I think, there's a lot of reasons and a lot of ways that people that make you feel small. Say if you don't have an audition or you don't have, that same opportunity and all you're doing is sharing about the thing you got and how excited you are. And there's a lot of us that aren't working a lot of times. And you just have to have some grace, I think. I don't know.
Right. And it's a lot like, for many individuals who try to get back in shape, it's like, oh, gonna do that thing to start on my path to weight loss. And it's like, well, did I do it though? So there's a little bit of like, well, just keep it to yourself until you start to see
Till
progress.
it happens,
Maybe.
right?
Yeah, proof is in the pudding.
But it's always tricky for actors too, though, because on the one hand, there's your actor friends, the people that you kind of grown up with, your family. But then there are the people who genuinely want to see you succeed, who do really love watching you get that audition, get that call back. I can see what you're saying, and that it is a tricky thing to navigate because people are going to see you in different ways depending on who they are. So this is me empathizing with you.
Oh, totally. If you're not paying for a service, you're the product. And so you're encouraged to share that sort of stuff. And if people like that sort of stuff, then you share more of it. Meanwhile, the folks that aren't getting auditions and aren't feeling great about the choice they've made to go to theater school or quit their day job to pursue acting completely, they're suffering. It can be really messy. At least on my Instagram, I try and I celebrate stuff that I have when it's in the can and when people can see it. And then outside of that, I try and not really brag about being on set or whatever.
Yeah.
Hashtag
But
on
we
set
know-
is the worst. You want to find some horrible people, search the hashtag
I'm gonna
on
look
set.
right now.
Ooh.
And,
Oh, no.
and hashtag booked and blessed. That's
Oh,
Oh, no.
like you get it, but just
Oh, no.
keep it to yourself. It's
I
fine.
just can't imagine. No time in history have people been like, actors are well-adjusted individuals that I really want to like strive to be. The culture is all wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, therapy
Well,
is great, y'all. Therapy is great.
Yeah.
Hey.
We know that you're more than just an actor. Last year at camp in 2021, Sharon and I sat out on our balcony and we listened to your band play, and you guys were awesome. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I'm not playing with those guys anymore. Things were getting a little too busy for me on once COVID, because it was kind of a COVID project. They kind of have a little bit more predictable schedules, and there was a string of shows that I had to back out of, and I just didn't feel like it was doing any good, and I think they wanted to, pursue it a little bit more deeply. So unfortunately, not playing with those guys anymore, but still playing drums and still writing music, and
Good.
I appreciate y'all, being at that thing and seeing it.
Good,
That was
yeah.
fun.
Absolutely rocked. Totally.
Music can be in itself a great form of therapy, especially drumming, right? I mean, just getting your
Banging
rage
it
out
out.
on the skins, man. That's
Right.
got to
It's
feel
a lot
great.
less rage-filled lately, and more. Fred Armisen just did this bit where he's like, he talks about kind of aging through his, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and how his drumming style has changed. He did it on Seth Meyers or something the other night, and it's really true. It's like you start off and I just wanted to play drums like Dave Grohl and hard and fast, and then now I just want to get in the groove. Just chill, just take it easy.
Like feeling the syncope. Yeah, I mean, I'm a singer-songwriter too, so when I started guitar and vocals, it was just all about hitting your guitar percussively. And then
Yeah.
eventually it just became about feeling just the vibe of the audience and going with that and just harmony. And just when it works, it works. You could just sit back
Right.
a little bit, wait a little bit before you hit that next strum. So I
Yeah.
kind of get that myself.
Just breathe, you don't have
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
It'll be there for you. Just
Totally.
let it breathe.
Jumping back to social media real quick, we have a fan question
Yeah. Yes.
from fan art Lindy on Instagram. She said, I've seen some posts of yours about rebuilding cars. What is your favorite classic car?
My dad he passed away in 2018. He spent a lot of time acquiring parts for a 1967 Mustang Fastback that he was going to do a GT350 conversion of Shelby mod to. And my mom was going to sling that thing because it was, just taking up a lot of space in the basement in the backyard. It had been there since the early 90s, I think maybe even 89. I have a picture of myself in front of it. But my dad had never gotten around to actually starting to do the work. He had gotten the engine board or whatever. He had done some kind of preliminary stuff. So that's my favorite car, 1967 Fastback. I started redoing that thing, and I've gotten most of the metal work done, and I've been in my house now since January of 21, so about almost 2 years now. That's crazy. But I basically work on the car stopped when I got in the house, and I started doing work on the house, which I still have a shit ton. I still have so much to do. But I'm going to get to it. I got the hood on on the car, and the big thing I need to do soon is my soundproofing because it expires apparently. And I didn't know that it's like a $600 ceramic spray-on coating that will go bad, and I didn't know. I wasn't too clear on that. So I have to do that soon. But yeah, 67 Mustang Fastback Shelby clone.
What color is it?
Right now it's a lot of different colors.
It's a little awful, right?
It was rust. It was severely rusted. I did a really stupid thing as my dad's health was getting worse. I made an executive decision, like I'm going to cover this thing up with a tarp. Unbeknownst to me that you don't do that to cars in the South because the moisture collects beneath them, and it just made the rust worse. I've kept my hour log, and I don't know where I'm at hour-wise on it, but I've spent so much time on the metalwork just getting it back to square and welding on new stuff, and I'm almost there, but also at a critical point where I'm trying to decide This is not what people
No,
want to
you're
hear.
good.
No, this is no.
I have a great follow-up
People
question.
love watching these
Yeah,
updates.
no worries.
I'm telling
I'm at
you.
a critical point where I'm trying to decide if I want to redo the quarter panels, which is an undertaking. Whatever. It will eventually be like a hunter green with gold racing stripes.
Nice.
Ooh.
Nice.
So for that
Very
70s vibe.
Yeah,
That is
it's
sweet.
Like I can't wait. Up until then, I'm driving a 2014 Ford Focus hatchback with a cracked window. But one of these days, I'm gonna be cruising in style.
Hey, some people would say a 2014 Focus is pretty. Yeah, whatever.
It's
It is,
terrible.
though. I
It's
would say.
terrible. If anybody finds one of those, listen, power shift transmission is garbage. I won a class action lawsuit against Ford. Thank you very much. Got $3,000 back, and the transmission
Congratulations.
is still garbage, people. So, yeah.
I had a whole discussion about that today. But actually, on the note of fixing up your car, I seem to remember a strong period of time where you had this character.
Josh's garage. It was still Josh.
Oh, Jessica Rush.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, but then I had a neighbor, Ricky. Ricky's
Okay.
the neighbor. That's the shame, is that that thing kind of came to a halt when this other work started. Then I started doing Kelly Williams when I was working on the house.
Right.
Have you
Right.
seen Kelly Williams yet?
Yeah, I have. It's funny because it was hard to keep track because there were so many different personalities. I'm like, wait, which one is the? And then okay, that guy is the the house guy. Okay, gotcha. But on that note, I wanted to thank you for. I don't know if you know how many people really glommed onto these characters throughout this entire pandemic situation, because Brianna Venskis did the same thing, who played Beatrice on the show. We all have a lot to thank you for when it comes to these characters, because it really entertained us throughout. We kept podcasting throughout and making ourselves crazy, and then we would just point to your stuff, and it was like, look at this. This is
thanks.
free, and this guy's awesome.
Exactly. I'm creating content for a platform that just wants to sling ads.
Exactly.
But no, thank you. That's really so sweet to hear. I just wanted to have a little fun.
On that same note, we had like a giveaway around maybe either before or during the start of the pandemic. I can't remember exactly when, but we had promoted something, and in it we used some of your cameos because holy shit. For those of you who don't know, your cameos are so entertaining. First of all, do you still do them? And second of all, is it fun for you in a way? Because I seem to feel like you have a lot of fun with them, and I'm just
it was a
basically
blast.
trying to.
I was doing them. Yes, I was doing them religiously before I got the house, and then when I got into the place, I kept letting so many of them slip to the wayside, and I didn't check my cameo for a while. And I just logged in the other day because I got an email saying something or other about them offering a 50%. I don't know. Something was going on. I
just got that too.
realized that I had let a number of requested cameos slip by, and then my whole page is gone. I don't even like all the ones that I had done that people could watch. That's all gone. I don't know what.
Oh my gosh.
So I got to figure it out. I'm 3 seasons dead on the show, and there's plenty of other cameos you can get that are cool. Spend your money in other cool places.
I completely disagree.
I do too.
I'll tell you why. One of the things that I really liked the most about your cameos is that it didn't have to be about Jared. I remember there was something about like the holidays. You were just connecting with people about the holidays and just riffing comedically on this stuff. And I thought, it doesn't have to be about Jared. You're just a fun and entertaining guy. And so I'm trying to get you more money is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you so
Get
much.
back on there.
I'll get back to it. It was therapeutic though for me. I tried to do as many interviews and different things during the pandemic, and I turned it into fundraisers a couple times for different causes that I cared about, and that was cool. It's a strange way to make money. It's nice. It's lovely that people care enough to want to get something like that from you. But like, if that platform wasn't around, I'd still want to do that sort of stuff for people who really enjoy talking to characters from the show and stuff. That's one thing about conventions too. I think people always feel the need to buy something if they're approaching a table. And I think, some of the bigger stars will kind of stress with me kind of spreading this sort of information. But, that can get really costly. And I don't think that's really necessary all the time. You just show up and say you love the show, introduce yourself. Well, I'm down to chat. I've been signing my name on shit for my entire life, and only in the past 4 years did people care about it, you know?
I get it. I think that's why we love your appearances at the camp the most, or other similar low-key conventions, because it gives you the opportunity to just be you, and it certainly shows now. So thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right,
I mean,
ladies,
it's lovely.
you can continue
The
with your
Walking Dead
questions.
fan base is so cool. They've loved the show for so long, so I always feel like I hopped on a wave that had swelled and was able to not cash in, but I mean, actually cash. Yeah, I've mentioned it before. It helped me pay off my college loans, and the work that I got from Walking Dead and the work that you get from the weight it adds to your resume, like I said, and the jobs it may have gotten me because of people having seen my stuff on Walking Dead. It was such a cool thing, and it's been such a cool thing. It's been such a fortunate thing. What does your shirt say? Jenna fucking Elfman.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I need to do that.
Josh fucking
Jared.
Michael.
Shitty fucking Jared, exactly. I should have done that.
That's great.
Talk about cashing in. I mean, we can make them
Yes.
for you.
Well, I
my
always
gosh.
think, like,
Those
that's
I would
would
what-
wear that. I would wear that.
I would too.
yeah, I would. I'd wear the shit out of it.
Yep.
All right, I'm on it, y'all. I'm on it.
Let's do
Shitty.
it. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, thanks, Jenna, for the idea.
Idea. Well, actually, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Goes back to Lisa, doesn't it?
Lisa,
Lisa, shout
yeah.
out. I want to know, before you left, did you happen to swipe anything from set that you just had to keep for yourself?
I wish I would have. 'Cause I keep hearing all these stories about people having taken shit, and
Right.
it's like it kills me. I took what I did take were some, because we were using live rounds. So there's shell casings all over the floor for these quarter round bullets we were shooting. So I picked up a couple of those anytime I was in a scene that had live rounds. But outside of that, no, I didn't get shit. I really sucks. But I did. One of the amazing things is being a part of Andy's last season. He sent out a really cool wrap gift, this hand axe that I have it was a really cool thing.
Wow.
And it's got
Very
an engraving on it, and it was really sweet that he considered everybody. He's that type of guy, though.
The show's about found family, and I just love hearing the stories about how the cast and the crew really are a family on set and just really become a family. It just warms my heart to know what I want to be true is true, you know?
Oh, totally. You spend one day on set, and you go through so much. There's so many strange dynamics and interesting conversations you have and wonderful people you meet. It feels like a week. It's like going to summer camp and being there. And so you do get really close. And then your schedules are all the same. So like you work a Friday day or whatever, and those guys go home at 3 a.m. on Saturday morning. And, it's like, what are we going to do tonight? Because we're zombie people, and, we're the only people, Yeah, it just makes so much sense that you spend a lot of time together.
Two questions to follow up on. If there was a thing that you would have wanted to take from set, what might it have been?
I mean, I would have loved to take one of Morgan's staffs. That would have been rad. You know what's crazy? Actually, so Todd, that I was in the band with, he constructed the original Lucille.
Oh, wow.
And he has it. He has a couple of them. Yeah.
The hero ones. Yeah.
The OGs, like the ones that they used on set, because he's a prop master. Yeah, so it blows my mind. I'm like, dude, take this to a con, get people to throw on gloves, charge whatever, $10 to take a photo with it.
Yeah.
And you could, pocket 50% and give the rest to charity, and that's a worthy thing to do, I think a lot of folks would want to take a picture with the actual Lucille used in season 6, episode 16.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you
Right.
could do a whole booth photo shoots with the original Lucille. Oh, yeah, that bat is a character itself.
He hasn't taken me up on it, but I think, the one time he does it, I'm sure I'm going to be at the booth right next to him and just watching his giant ass line.
That's my idea. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
This guy here.
All right, what did I say? I said 50% for you, 50%
Yeah.
for me. Let's do, 30, 20, 30 for charity, 20 for me.
Yeah, you need a cut of that.
It's almost unfair to compare, but at the same time, in what ways does being on The Walking Dead differ from being on set on other projects like Ozark, Black Lightning, regardless of time? In what ways do they differ?
It's tough.
Just generally speaking.
I think anytime you get a recurring role and you're able to come back a couple episodes and get to know the set and the crew, that's a real gift, and that's a lot of fun. Walking Dead was cool because I knew going into it I'd always have some like material that I could really bite down on and make people hate me. I mentioned it before, I had my first day with Greg Nicotero directing the episode, and I was like, hey man, am I going too hard? Like, is this guy turning out to be too much of a dick? Like, and he was like, no. Like, make him way dickier, or like whatever. Keep going for it. And to have that sort of encouragement early on, that was so rad. My feeling of the character, and then what I was able to find on those first couple of days, directed by Greg, that was really cool because, it established Jared. And, if there was ever any sort of worry about having not chosen the right thing, or if anybody ever kind of questioned it, it was like, well, Greg Nicotero told me to do this. And like, you don't have that sort of liberty a lot of times with characters.
Well, and if Greg says so,
yeah,
then
exactly.
Then it's good.
He's just as bad as Negan. It's terrible.
Yeah, Mom told me I could. Like,
yeah, exactly.
In terms of what's to come for Josh Michael, is there a kind of role that you've always wanted to play? Because I see how funny a guy you are, a warm, funny guy you are. And I often wonder, you got to see a lot of that in Righteous Gemstones. Do you prefer or gravitate to the roles that have more of a comedic element to it?
Yeah, I love comedy is such a challenge. And so talking about Righteous Gemstones, I had been a fan of the Danny McBride universe and Jody Hill stuff for a while. And I think, if you grow up in the South, your comedy is so shaped by that, what those guys were doing. To be on set and play a character as ridiculous as I was able to play, and then hear those guys laughing when I would finish a take and hear them, that was like, I'm getting chills thinking about it now. That was like such a cool thing.
What a bonus.
To make dudes that have made you laugh for so long laugh, like that's just so cool.
How rewarding. Yeah.
It was so rewarding. I've tried because I've got, whenever gotten a haircut or what. I actually thought, I tried floating this idea along for folks that haven't seen the show. I played this like goth raver and I had really long hair and like sheer shirt and like this really ridiculous.
Crop toppy sort of.
Awesome goth dance that we had a real choreographer for.
It was totally awesome. Yeah.
Oh my God.
You just answered one of my questions, like that choreography, because it was just so great.
And everybody that was background too, we were all learning that choreography together, and so a lot of those folks, the warmth on that set, and it was just so much fun. So that was special. I really do love, to answer your question, I do love comedy. I would love to wind up in more stuff like that. I love Coen Brothers stuff. I would want to do anything that the Coen Brothers have their name on, and then I would love to end up in a Western. I got close not too long ago, and I think that would be just cool. I'm not a huge fan of Westerns or anything. It's just so Hollywood. I did a show called Mayfair Witches recently, and that'll be out early January. But the experience I had on that set was really cool because it was one of those moments where it's like, this is kind of almost stereotypical Hollywood stuff. Like there was a big backlot set and big costumes and everybody's in costumes and animals and just fun, and fire, and it just is cool. You're playing make-believe. It's like there's a reason why so many actors are just like Peter Pan boys. We're like you just still get to play all day. It's amazing.
And the bigger the production, the closer it is you feel to the imaginary, right? It kind of does the work for you in some senses, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah. If there's one critique of my work on that show, I'm sure it'll be having done too much because the costumes and the set and everything is just so big and awesome. But we'll see.
Also on AMC, Mayfair Witches, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Also on AMC.
Yep.
Yeah.
I smell a watch party in our future.
Oh, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Looking very much forward to it. Yeah.
Any project that people are in, it's not just about The Walking Dead. It's the family that we've created from it, including the cast and crew even. We want to spread all that love around as much as we can.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Especially those who spend time with us on these
That's
recordings.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But, I mean, we're trying to be fair here. Yeah. But on that note, aside from Mayfair Witches, what are some things that you personally would like others to watch that you've done, and
Sure.
what projects mayhaps you have in the works?
There's this creator, Ray McKinnon. He is a Georgia boy. Did a show called Rectify that I got to show up in a couple episodes of that, and I think it's just a wonderful show. Jason Warner-Smith is also in it. It's just a wonderful show. One of the better things I've been in. Righteous Gemstones, I think, is one of the better things I've been in. Game Night is a really fun movie. John Bernecker, who passed away on Walking Dead, was my stunt double in that. There's a big fight scene that I have, and it's John doing all of my stunts. The film itself is wonderful, and that's just a special piece for me. And then, so I did Mayfair Witches. I did a show called Damascus that my buddy Terrence wrote for AMC that hopefully will be out next year. I did a movie called They Clone Tyrone that will be on Netflix, I think the 29th. I have a small bit, but it's fun. I did a movie called Brothers with Josh Brolin and Peter Dinklage and Glenn Close that I have a little chunk in, and I think that'll be fun. Not sure when that's out. Did a movie called Renfield that I have a dumb little bit in that I think will be cool. It's like I've shot a bunch of stuff, and it's all on the can right now. It's just waiting. And then I did a show called Manhunt that'll be Apple Plus. It's based on a book called Manhunt, The 12-Day Search for Lincoln's Killer.
Oh.
And it's about the book for John Wilkes Booth.
Yeah.
Just woke up Sharon Day. It's great.
History got my attention.
He's a big history buff.
Oh, yeah. You're a big history buff, Sharon?
Yeah.
Sharon.
Yeah. That got my attention.
Yeah. I play a conspirator, John Harrison Surratt. He's an amazing shithead of history. This guy's one of the conspirators in the Lincoln assassination. Escaped to Canada, joined a monastery up there, was spotted, escaped to Europe, went to Manchester, and then eventually joined the papal order at Vatican City. Wow. Was defending the Vatican from Italian aggression, and then he got spotted there, was on a boat leaving Egypt and got caught, extradited back to the U.S. When he got back to the U.S., he faced trial for his part of the conspiracy to assassinate Lincoln, and the statute of limitations on his crimes had expired. He got off, ended up teaching at a women's college in Baltimore, and then died a free man at the age of 76 with 3 daughters. Yeah.
Over a period of how long?
He was young. I was cast, maybe 10, 12 years his senior. I'm 38, and I think he was 25 or something. Not a great dude, but one of the wild stories of that whole thing that I don't think a lot of folks know.
Yeah.
That somebody got off.
It's the little
spoiler
things.
Alert.
That's the little. It's the little parts of history that I find fascinating. The little individual stories that everybody doesn't know.
Yeah. There's something cool about, or not cool, but interesting about that whole night, too, is it was a plot to kill not only Lincoln, but the secretary and the vice president. The guy who was supposed to kill the vice president drank too much and never made it up to the vice president's hotel room, drank too much at this hotel bar, and then another guy broke in and attacked Secretary Seward, and he was already bedridden from falling out of a carriage and stabbed that guy multiple times. He lived on. There's a lot of parallels between what could have happened on January 6th and what happened back then. It's wild.
Cycles. Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild. It's a crazy thing. You think oh God, how much more can we learn about Lincoln? And there's a lot that in that book itself. Gosh, I wish I could remember the author, but yeah, Manhunt, the 12-Day Search for Lincoln's Killer, I think is the name of it. And
this is a series or a?
It'll be a series, yeah.
Okay.
I think 7 episodes.
That's excellent. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Right?
With that in mind, it looks like there's a lot to digest from you in the coming months, which is pretty exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome. Good content.
Just hope it's good. We'll
Fingers
see.
crossed. I'm sure it'll be great.
It'll be great.
Thank you.
As long as you feel good about it, I guess that matters just as much as its reception. So if you feel good about it, I think that counts for something.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I can't control. That's why a lot of actors don't watch their stuff. They're like, well, I did work I'm happy with. What happens in the editing room is out of my control.
That's very true. That's very true. They can do whatever they want with
I love the sound of my voice.
what they've got.
Anyway. Actually, you know what? How about this? Do you have any? Well, listen. I like Josh. Keep him on. But do you have any last?
We don't want
words?
to take up this whole night, though.
Any last words?
Yeah, any last
last
words for
words?
anybody that?
That sounds so scary.
Just no, thank you all
That's
so
right,
much for having me. And, it's funny. I was telling some friends before this, like, somehow I'm still doing Walking Dead interviews, and I've been dead for it's like 4 years now. So it's nice that people still care and care about what I'm getting into, and I really appreciate the support, and I wish y'all nothing but the best. I hope we cross paths again at some point, maybe down at the camp or somewhere.
Camp.
Oh, that'd be great.
Fingers
Well,
crossed.
that just goes to show you what kind of an impact your character had.
That's what I was going to say.
I mean, it's been
Yeah.
like you said, it's been years, and we're still talking about Jared.
More than anything, the impact that you personally, Josh, have had on the fans as well. You give so much of
Absolutely.
yourself, both online and in person, and it's recognized. And
thanks.
I think the more feedback we get from this interview about that, the more you'll find that that's actually true. So
Thank you.
Well, and it's
That's
because
really,
of
really
Josh
good.
that the character is relevant. You made that character what he was.
This podcast is going to turn. We're going to do another hour of this.
all right, let's keep going.
Inflating my ego. No, thank you so much. That's so
No,
kind
we
of
just
you.
appreciate it. That's really what it comes down to. So thank
I
you.
appreciate it too.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Personally, I can't wait to see the next things that you're going to be in. We need to get you back on Cameo. We gotta do all this stuff. We gotta get your name and your face back out there.
Yeah,
we
let's
gotta
figure out a good
Yep,
cause
shine some light.
to do some cameos for.
You know, we might just have that cause.
We might just have an idea. Josh, I can't thank you enough for sitting down and talking with us. This was absolutely incredible. Like I said, it's been years, but we love to hate Jared, and it was just such a pleasure to sit down and get to know Josh.
And we love to love you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yes.
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you for
Appreciate
being here.
y'all.